Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And boy, do we got some sharp and shiny for you today. I've actually got two knives on this desk, and you're about to find out why. While in the closed position, these may in fact look identical, but I promise you that they are not. These are the Tuya Knives Wrath V2. That's right, version 2. And they have some minor differences between these and the version 1. To start off with, the version 1 only had this straight back design that we see here on top. The version 2 introduces this gorgeous compound ground Tonto blade with the exact same edge geometry, but a little bit pokier here at the tip. And I think that that's really, really cool. Something else that is new, you'll notice that these have a black PVD orange peel finish, which is to say that it is smooth from the outset, but just enough texture to give you some superior grip. I'm really digging these, and I really liked the version 1. Something else which I think is interesting is if you look at the version 1, it was advertised at 7 3/4 inches overall with a 3.35 inch blade. These are also 7 3/4 inches long, but with a 3 1/4 inch blade. So what they did is they reduced the size of the blade very marginally to increase the size of the handle scales, and that does give a little bit extra purchase. Both of these knives currently feature PVD orange peel finished titanium handle scales with an S90V blade that has been DLC coated. DLC stands for diamond like carbon, and it is insanely scratch resistant. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, the Rockwell hardness on a DLC coated blade can typically go upwards of about 80, and I am speaking specifically of the DLC coating, not necessarily the steel underneath. But what that means is if you get any marks on your blade, chances are you didn't scratch the blade. Whatever you rubbed it up against probably just left some residue on the blade. I really appreciate the way that they do this DLC coated finish, because even though it's DLC coated, it's not just this flat matte color. It's like they coated it and then they ground the blade. So you still get to see the striations from the belt. The multi-directional finish is absolutely gorgeous. As far as deployment methods are concerned, we have a dual-sided thumb stud as well as a front flipper, which is perfectly tuned. The way that they got the detent to be so poppy on here is rather impressive. And with the ceramic ball bearings in that single-sided captive pivot, it makes this knife positively a guillotine. It is extremely smooth. And what is your hard-earned money going to cost to pick up one of these? Well, it kind of depends. For these specific versions with the black orange peel PVD coated handles and the DLC coated blade, you're looking at about $279. To give you kind of an idea of just how good of a deal that is, knives with this level of build quality, fit and finish, and materials from either WE or Riot would cost you well into the $300 range, like $330 to $380, and people would pay that. However, quietly, Tuya Knives has released these version 2 knives this year, and I can't believe that more people aren't talking about them because they're great. They nailed it on the aesthetics. They nailed it on the build quality. Dave Warren is the designer of the Tuya Wrath, and he did an absolutely phenomenal job. Let's go ahead and do a quick QC check. In the open position, there is no blade play left or right. There is no lock rock. And you know, these are important things because whenever a knife is mass produced, there's always the opportunity for something to go wrong. And on both of these, that is not the case. The action is silky smooth, and we do have perfect blade centering. I don't know why blade centering is so important to me, because honestly, even if a knife is a little bit off one way or a little bit off the other, it'll still function just fine. However, it's one of those things which is very annoying when you get a brand new knife and it's not perfectly centered. And then when that happens, I typically spend far too much time trying to get it to center. On these, that is not the case. They both look great. We have a 3D milled titanium pocket clip and a 3D milled titanium backspacer, which is really well done. I have to say that the ergos on here do feel a bit better than they did on the original Wrath. Not to say that the original Wrath had rough handle scales or anything like that, but whenever you move away from a deep engraved texture like frag pattern or Sagaiha, to something like this orange peel finish, what you end up with is a really comfortable grasp in the hands. I have a large size glove and I get a full 4-finger grip. Is this a sharpening choil? Is it a finger choil? I mean, it's kind of a hybrid between both, but it is usable and I don't feel like I'm going to slice my index finger off when I choke up. We do have some jimping here. The jimping is kind of weird to me because it doesn't stick up past the handle scales, which means that essentially it's pretty much only there for the front flipper because it doesn't really help your thumb at all. That's okay. We do have a crowned spine as well, and that is beautiful. I love seeing crowned spines on blades, and it's really nice when we have one on a knife like this, which costs $280. And by the way, did I mention these are actually currently available? If you want one, I will link to it down below. It is not an affiliate link. I don't have any discount codes, but I can tell you this, both of these are rather impressive. If you like to fidget with your knives, or if you like front flipper knives, you're going to find that the didnt is probably some of the best tuned in the game as far as front flippers are concerned. It's hard to tune a knife to work well with multiple deployment options because depending upon whatever you consider to be the primary, that might make you want a lighter or a stiffer detent. And while this detent is rather on the stiff side, it is not hard to actuate, and the thumb stud action is perfect as well. You just build up a little bit of strength behind that thumb stud and she flies out. That is fantastic. It's really addicting to open and close this knife a lot. And then when you go to close it, you're greeted by that really, really nice, silky smooth action from the ceramic bearings and the ceramic detent ball. That isn't to say that I love absolutely everything about this knife. I will say this, the detent being so poppy is a bit of a double-edged sword, and I'll tell you why. If you are used to being able to just reverse flick your knives, the hard part is when you go to do that, your finger naturally puts pressure on this lock bar. And because that detent ball is rather stiff, any amount of pressure on that lock bar at all is going to cause it to not deploy and give your finger pad kind of a bad day. Lockup is coming in at about 35%, and we do have plenty of lock bar access. I really enjoy the fact that they milled that out and texturized it. It makes accessing it very, very easy and very comfortable as well. There is no pivot lash on this knife, and that is due in large part to the excellence that is the detent ball. I'm thoroughly enjoying these, and I truly believe that these are some of the best released production knives under $300 here in 2024. But it's time that we have a conversation in the comments section. Did you know that these were released? Have you been keeping an eye on it? Have you been considering them, or is it a pass for you? If not, why not? Let me know in the comments section down below. And if you want to watch more awesome knife and EDC content, go ahead and click on one of the videos that pops up next.